I'm happy to say that my peer-to-peer portfolio has just surpassed the 100,000 euro mark, and today I'm going to show you everything about it. Which platforms offer the best interest rates, how liquid they are, where the biggest risks lie, how much I earn per month, what my largest platforms are, how I plan to invest in the future, and what has been most worthwhile for me. With that, welcome to Northern Finance. My name is Alex Black.
Hi, my name is Alex from Northern Finance. This video was translated with the help of AI so that we can reach more people in their own language. A native speaker has reviewed the translation. Still, some sentences might sound a little unusual. Thanks for being here and enjoy the video now.
Yes, and reaching such a major milestone is truly a wonderful and significant thing. I finally have a six-figure peer-to-peer lending portfolio, which is really great and something I am very proud of. And what's almost even cooler is that I've carefully documented my journey here in detail, so we can see exactly how everything has developed and changed over time, step by step. I've been working towards this goal of 100,000 euros in peer-to-peer loans for a long time, making a lot of sacrifices and saving a lot. I still remember quite clearly when I met Bernhard Hummel, who had invested a lot in P2P at the beginning, and I was incredibly envious of him and also of other people who had six-figure investments. And now I've managed to achieve it myself, which means about 9,000 to 11,000 euros per year in passive income that keeps coming in. I think that's absolutely wonderful. It makes me happy and encourages me to keep saving, keep investing, and keep pushing forward, because even with these 9,000 to 11,000 euros per year, you can afford quite a lot, I would say. Of course, that certainly doesn't come anywhere close to fully replacing a job or anything like that, but it is still money that you simply didn't have before, and that's now coming in. And with peer-to-peer lending, you can actually achieve this much faster than with traditional dividend stocks, mainly because the payouts are generally higher. That's certainly a nice thing, and I'm still young, and hopefully both my portfolio, my passive income, and I myself still have a lot of room to grow in the future. So I'd say let's get started right away. Here you can see my entire portfolio since January 2022 at a glance, not just the P2P loans, because I think it's important to look at everything in the overall context, to see how one invests in different things. Back then I started with a total of 19,000 euros, of which 15,000 euros were in P2P loans. Then, a year later, it was 25,000 euros in P2P, another year later 39,000, and yet another year later 60,000 euros. And on the green line, as of November 11th, 2025, we've officially reached 100,047 euros invested in P2P. The ETFs are represented by the blue line at 147,000, and Bitcoin is at 161,000. At one point, it was even at 180,000 euros. But what's really nice about P2P is that it develops steadily and nicely over the long term, and that's exactly how it should be. It shouldn't fluctuate much, but rather just continue to develop nicely and steadily all the time, and that's exactly what it's done in the past. I'm really grateful for that. That brings us to a total of 470,000 euros in my portfolio, with 100,000 invested in P2P. Here we have the entire portfolio shown again as a pie chart, and P2P currently makes up 21% of the portfolio, which is a bit too much for me. In the long term, I want to gradually reduce that to about 15%, and accordingly I plan to invest more in ETFs to help balance it out. If we activate the P2P filter and select this view, we can clearly see that I am invested in a wide range of different platforms, but it's also quite obvious that I have my favorites, and we'll go through those now. These include Monefit, Ventus Energy, and Debitum, my three largest platforms, which together make up almost 40% of my entire P2P portfolio. Here we are now directly at my Monefit account, which at approximately around 14,000 euros is currently my largest investment. Most of this amount is invested in the regular Smart Saver product, where you can withdraw your money at any time if you need it, and in return you receive 7.5% interest per year, which is also paid out daily, which is really nice. Since its launch, this product has worked absolutely flawlessly. There will soon be a highly anticipated feature here, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to say what it is yet. It's coming very soon. I've invested around 4,400 euros in the vaults with higher interest rates and fixed terms, and overall I've already earned 1,400 euros this way. Here you can also see the progress of my investment graphically displayed, and as you can clearly see, I have invested more and more bit by bit. The link with a bonus to Monefit, plus my entire test video and my visit on site in Tallinn, are linked below in the video description, just like with all the other platforms we're talking about today. It's always very important to me to look behind the scenes and provide a bit more insight, not just for my own investment, of course, but also for this channel. With Ventus Energy, I have the highest return in my entire investment portfolio at 19.7%. In my opinion, the risk is also the greatest with the energy project financings offered there, which is exactly why the interest rates are so high. After all, we are financing mezzanine loans, meaning interim financing before a long-term bank loan has even been secured, and such interim financing is, naturally, considerably riskier than more traditional forms of financing. This way, Ventus can grow quickly, but it also has to secure good purchase prices and absolutely obtain long-term bank financing, because otherwise it won't be able to pay the interest in the long run and the whole thing won't work out. So far though, it's been working very well, I have to say. And that's why 2,200 euros of my 13,200 euros investment is already profit. And I achieved that within just 1 year, truly incredible, by gradually investing more and more in Ventus. I've also visited Ventus on site several times. It's a very exciting platform, and the bonus links and so on are in the description. As you can see, I invested a lot, especially at the beginning and less recently, since Ventus has already become such a large part of my portfolio. If you appreciate this kind of transparency, 100% open and honest, then please leave me a like and subscribe as a big support. That way, you can follow me on my journey to financial freedom and always get the latest updates on where it might be worth investing or suddenly not anymore. And the third largest platform in my portfolio is Debitum, where we as investors finance business loans. Here, I have invested over 12,000 euros and am earning exceptionally good interest rates of 12.7% per year, where, in my opinion, the risk is very reasonable. So, for those who do not want to take as much risk as with Ventus, it might be a good idea to find a middle ground, especially given the very good payment history at Debitum. There are only a handful of lenders here, and depending on the term, you can also get slightly higher interest rates. In my opinion, it's a good platform where I would be happy to invest significantly more in the future without any problems or sleepless nights or anything like that. All other links, on-site visits and bonuses can be found in the video description. Let's continue with my fourth largest platform, which is Bondora Go Grow. After Bondora finally became significantly more transparent, I also increased my investment considerably again, and it's now at 8,000 euros. Today I deposited another 600 euros, which means I'll be earning a bit more per day, €1.32 to be exact. These interest payments come in every day like clockwork, always right on time, and I've withdrawn money many times before. It always arrived in my account within seconds without any problems. With Bondora, it's just click, click, and you're done. You don't have to worry about a thing. That's what makes it so good. Bondora has created a really great product that I always enjoy investing in, and I can access my money quickly too. My review, the comparison with Monefit, and the bonus link are also down below in the video description. Let's continue with Mintos below. I've also significantly increased my investment there recently and am now at 6,800 euros, a large portion of which is no longer invested in loans, but rather in bonds from the best loan originators on Mintos. Of course, like all investors, I've also had some defaulted loans over the years, but even so, the return is still attractive at around 8 to 9% per year after selection. I'm curious to see whether the bonds offer better protection in case of problems, because the interest rates are only slightly lower than for regular loans and they can't be bought back as quickly, so the security should work a bit better. I would say there's only one method, and that's to find out in practice by actually investing, because returns simply come from risk, and without risk there's no growth. Otherwise, you could just use a savings account. Next up is LANDE, where I've paused making new investments, I have to say, because although the transparency is good, the loan defaults are simply too high and the recoveries take too long. It's possible, but for now I've paused new investments and I'm waiting to see how things develop. Moving on to Swaper, where I recently experienced a lot of cash drag, which fortunately has now resolved. With 12 to 16% interest rates in the loyalty program, there's a strong offering, but the recent increase in cash drag, where some money just sits in the account without earning interest, keeps me from investing more. Of course, you want your money to be working for you and not just sitting idle. If that changes, you'll be the first to know. Together, that's 27.5%, and with the previous 40% in the top three, that makes 67.5% of my total investment that we've already covered. Or in other words, 2/3 of my P2P lending portfolio are with these 7 platforms. In 8th place is Estateguru, which I have to say has been my biggest mistake so far. I've already withdrawn a lot of money from here, and as you can see, I still have about 5,000 euros invested. At one point it was 15,000 euros. At this point, only 500 euros worth of loans are still being paid on time, and the rest have simply defaulted, unfortunately, mainly German loans, where there might even be suspicion of fraud because of the country manager, who was then fired pretty quickly. But whether that's actually the case, no one knows. The court cases are still ongoing. I'm letting the investment run out, and as we can see in my portfolio, where it's mainly the German loans that have defaulted, this is an example of that. As you can see, the loan defaulted 3 years ago. But disappointingly, nothing has happened since. Even though the loan is first ranking, and even with German bureaucracy, something should have happened within 3 years. Of these cases from Germany, only one has been resolved so far, and I hope there will be more to come, but we don't have the final numbers yet, so I can't say anything more except that it's a huge disappointment. Next we have Viainvest, which I really should increase my investment in. Things are going very well here, I have no problems, and I'm enjoying the 12% annual interest on my 3,400 euro investment. Viainvest isn't talked about as much anymore, but it's a very solid platform that just works, and as you can see on the statistics page, it's growing nicely in terms of loan volume, sometimes even very strongly. Since 2020, their loan volume has more than doubled, and they are able to adjust the loans offered to match investor demand, putting more or less on the marketplace as needed, which is great. There's absolutely no cash drag. Both of these charts run in parallel, and you are always fully invested in the market, which is definitely a nice thing to have. The link is also down in the description. That brings us to Fintown, a smaller platform for financing real estate exclusively from the Vihorev Group in the Czech Republic. I have also been on site here and visited some of the properties. It's also a really nice diversification, especially with the various rental properties that are offered and the steady, regular cash flow that comes from them. But the main part is the financing of their own real estate projects, which are currently under construction in Prague, like this one right here, where you have a term of 1.5 years and get 13% interest per year. For me personally, this is a solid and reliable platform that's suitable for diversification. Not as a main investment, but still very stable. So far, everything has been repaid on time, and it's also nicely transparent. Those were also my 10 largest platforms, which together make up around 80% of my investments. Now I'll go through the remaining 20% a bit faster, otherwise we'll be talking forever and won't get to the other topics like real interest rates and the passive income I receive. Next up is INDEMO. While there are occasionally some high interest payments from individual projects that are eventually recovered, it really does take quite a bit of time before you get much back from these defaulted real estate loans that are bought up and then go to court so you can get your money. You buy loans that have already defaulted. It's an interesting business model, but the cash flow is very irregular and unpredictable. There will be more on this in a moment when we talk about the actual returns, because in reality there just aren't that many returns, or at least it takes a while to get there. That's the right way to put it. I've also recently added Devon as another platform for financing construction loans, and I even visited them on site. What I especially liked was the affordable and energy-efficient construction method, which is implemented in their own modular factory. Here, even social housing is built at low cost, and yet you still get top interest rates, it has to be said. It's a platform that only a few people know about so far, but it has the potential to become really big and is built on the software framework of Ventus Energy, which has proven itself well. Loanch, as the next platform, is also rather under the radar. I visited the lender Tambadana in person and also conducted an interview with the CEO, who answered my questions very openly, which was really nice. And there are also attractive double-digit interest rates, even with short maturities, offered by the Fintown group as a whole. Moving on to FF Forest, which I only joined recently, is only widely financed, a very exciting business model that many from our community already know and that I explained in my last video. And for this there are currently record interest rates of 18% plus 3% cashback plus 1% extra bonus, with my link in the description, which is not available otherwise, makes 22% in the first year with the possibility of an early exit to end the investment earlier if you want. These are currently the highest interest rates available on the market, even higher than at Ventus Energy. They are now also more established and no longer offer quite as much, so this is a good opportunity for all yield hunters to secure really high interest rates with the option to exit early. After that, there are several smaller platforms such as Lendermarket, Twino and incl, as well as Secret Investment and some loans that I used to buy manually on Bondora, which is no longer possible today, but from which I am still earning interest. That brings us to the actual return. Since 2022, my overall portfolio has achieved an annual return of 10.85%, and if we look only at P2P, we see that the figure is very similar, at 9.7% per year. On the right here, we can also see the annual returns. We have the overall portfolio on one side and for comparison, peer-to-peer loans on the other. Their returns fluctuate much less, which is nice, and over the years, we've also seen a really positive and encouraging upward trend in returns, which I honestly didn't expect. In fact, this steady improvement over time is quite remarkable and worth noting. Here we've also shown the monthly returns, which you can see do fluctuate. Sometimes they are higher and sometimes they are lower, but at the moment I'm earning approximately 1% per month, and my passive income per month has also increased quite significantly. What I earned in the entire year of 2022 now comes in within just 1.5 months. Here you can also see my cash flow represented as a bar chart per month. And currently, over the past few months, about 900 euros have been coming in each month. I've also started investing more again, which I'm very happy about, and if there are no major surprises, this trend should continue. If we open the view since 2022, we can see how things have developed over the years. Feel free to pause the video if you want to take a closer look. And with that, we come to the conclusion and a look ahead to the future and how I plan to invest going forward. For that, let's take another look at this block view, so to speak, because it's just really clear and easy to understand. My top 3 platforms, Monefit, Ventus and Debitum, should remain as they are for now, meaning all of them should stay in the top 3. However, I especially want to significantly increase my investments in Monefit and also in Bondora in the future. Here I do actually have the lowest returns on the market at 7.5% and 6%, but in my opinion I also get the very best security, and that is worth a lot to me. Plus, you can access your money very quickly, which can also be a huge advantage at times. Other major platforms like Ventus and Debitum, on the other hand, offer significantly higher interest rates, and for me, it's this particularly unique combination of high-yield investments and very liquid investments that makes it so attractive. If you can combine them the way you want and in the proportions that suit you best, that's truly a very appealing mix, and I really enjoy doing it this way. For me, P2P loans are really worth it, and Ventus naturally brings me the most in terms of profit. You can also see that in the monthly interest overview, where Ventus is always way ahead of the others. But I also think Monefit is cool, because even though you have to wait a bit longer to withdraw your money compared to Bondora, you still get it guaranteed within 2 weeks. So far, they've always delivered on that promise to all investors, including myself, and with an annual return of 7.5%, that's already quite attractive. Just like having the option to build an interest ladder through the vault if you want to, or to use the savings plan, which I also personally use to automatically invest 250 euros every single month on autopilot. Now that's truly a great feature. The somewhat smaller investments are also really cool. Some of them have genuinely interesting business models. Right now, FF Forest and Viainvest appeal to me, and that's what my portfolio looks like, which brings me 900 euros every month without me having to do anything. As I said, the bonus links and so on are down in the video description. Now, my question to you, what do you want to see in the future? Which peer-to-peer platform would be the right one for you to invest a lot of money in? Let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to the exchange. Leave me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and with that, I wish you good returns and big goals, because what I can achieve, you can achieve too. See you next time.